Farm Progress Show 2024, Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. Right now with the folks at Solinftec, talking with Chris Dillard. And Chris, thanks so much for taking a few minutes to talk with us today.
Pleasure to be here.
All right, so you're standing next to the new piece of equipment that you're talking about right now, and that's your docking station for the Solinftec technology. We've talked about in the past about how the the machines work. Tell us about this docking station and what that's going to mean for those who are using this technology.
Yeah, so one of the things with our autonomous sprayers that we put into fields, it doesn't carry a lot of product. It's a lightweight machine, it's solar powered, and we spend some time refilling the tanks. Over the years, we've had a lot of questions from people about putting bigger tanks on the units, and we've never went down that path, and there's a strategic reason behind that. We knew in the pipeline something that we were always working on was our docking station, and that really uncorks the power that our Solix robots have and the ability to do work in the field. What I mean by that is, today when our robots need to be refilled, they send a notification to one of our teammates who go out to the field and refill the robots. The docking station, by contrast, gives the unit the ability to auto-service itself, auto-refill. It drives up to the dock. There's a coupling system on here. This is a multi-axis coupling unit. It reaches out to the machine. They dock each other, and fluid is pumped from the docking station into the robot.
All right, and so we're seeing it next to a small tank right now, obviously for example, but what kind of volume is this thing, capacity is this going to have for being out in the field?
It's a modular system. We can use multiple totes with it. So in theory, we could even envision a future where the robot has the ability to select from different products available as it comes up to it. It may see in the field grasses or broadleafs or even insect problems, or a future where there's even fungus detected, and the robot needs to address those issues in timely manner. Given those types of scenarios, we can envision a future with multiple totes. The unit comes up, can clean the tanks, grab the right product, and go back out to the field. It's very modular.
That way it's able to kind of see and adapt and see the problems and helps the farmer out. So actually, I know the question's probably going to come from farmers is to how do we have control over a machine? Because autonomy, great. It's great that we have the machines doing it for us, but how do we maintain that control that it's not getting carried away with what it's doing out there?
Of course. These types of machines are always an ask and then respond type of scenario. And all of that happens through the phone, the mobile device. The units notify anytime they come to a stop, anytime they need to be refilled, anytime a new weed or disease or insect is identified. That gives the operator the ability to execute based on their decisions, given the right circumstances. That said, something that is kind of interesting that I'll throw into the equation is at the software layer itself, users have the ability to also add guardrails to our robots. So if rain is in the forecast or the wind conditions aren't favorable, the operator has the ability to say, I want it to only operate after X amount of hours since the last rain, or if wind is greater than 3 miles an hour, less than 10 miles an hour. It's very configurable. It gives the user a lot of options in how the machines operate in fields.
All right. And maybe remind our producers here that are watching, first of all, what is the capacity of one of these units and what it can haul and how often it's going to have to refill?
40 gallons on board the robots, and the frequency by which they need to be refilled completely depends on how many weeds are in the field. These robots use target spray technology, which means we only spray on the weeds as they are seen in the field. So a 40-gallon system may go across 200 acres. It may only go 10 acres. We don't know because we can never predict that. Right. This type of system gives a new way for these units to exist in fields and really reduces some of the limitations our customers have experienced up to this point.
Another thing, obviously, with inputs being what they are, farmers aren't going to want to waste anything. So maybe explain, maybe you start this system up and you're going to be having it go out to look for broadleafs. Yes. And then all of a sudden it finds a patch or it's finding some of that grass out there and it realizes, hey, I got to come back and address this. Is it going to be one of those things that it's either going to come back and pump some stuff out and get new stuff in, or is it going to wait till it's finished with its broadleaf run, then come back and say, hey, I found this grass problem. Now that I'm done with the broadleafs, I can go and change and do that?
Some of that we don't know yet.
Okay.
Some of that is still something we're working toward, but we can certainly envision a future of both those scenarios making sense. As our engineers and our development team, and we get more miles on these units, we'll be able to better answer what's the right path and the right steps to take in each one of those individual circumstances. Unknown a little bit at this point.
So also with the solar powered technology, I mean, obviously this means this machine could run, theoretically at night if it had to do its job. I mean, but how well does it do a job? Does it have lighting systems to help it see what's going on? And then also, how long does it maintain a charge with it maybe being at dark and not as much sun?
So we do have onboard battery backup. That gives the unit the ability to run for multiple days without any sunlight hitting the solar panels. We've never had a unit in field in any situation, whether it's here in the States running or even some of our units in Brazil. Not a single unit has ever failed to run due to energy. So they're highly efficient machines. They move at a pace that allows them to be extremely energy efficient. We do have battery on board that rides the ebbs and flows of the sunlight. The second question, remind me what the second question we had
Question
there?
was, how does it work at night to be able to?
Yes.
Because obviously it's easier to see
Yes.
grass in the daytime than it is at
Of
nighttime.
course. Yep, so all of our cameras have infrared
Okay.
lights on them. Using shape recognition, we can determine with a pretty high degree of accuracy if we're looking at weeds, plants, crops of interest, and that allows us to move forward in doing a lot of those executable activities. At this point in time, the majority of our evening operations focus either on insects or on scouting purposes. We don't do a lot of spraying at night. Theoretically, we can. However, there's very few instances where herbicides, again, today, a lot of our applications focus on taking care of weeds. There's very few instances where that makes sense in today's chemistries.
So, docking station, also the sprayer equipment. Anything else that our Iowa viewers are going to need to know about the technology you're presenting here today at Farm Progress?
I think one of the things that I would like to share with people in Iowa is we expect to have many of these units in Iowa next year. Thus far, we've been in Indiana, Illinois. We're expanding our base as we go into next season. Well, I would encourage people, if they get the opportunity, to stop, watch it work. It's a little bit of a unique experience. For the last several years, we focused on technology being bigger, faster, and stronger, covering as many acres per hour as possible. This is a reset. This is a step in a different direction. Because it's autonomous, because it doesn't have to travel down the road at high speeds to get to the next field, it lives in these fields, time is not its enemy. So when you see it moving on the side of the field, it's really fun to watch because it just creeps along. It's slowly moving through that field, but it does it day in and day out, and it's able to cover quite a bit of ground without even a person even thinking about that taking place. Operators can maintain multiple machines at one time, and so in essence, an operator can be in 10 or 15 fields at once.
And so maybe help us understand that when you're talking about fields, obviously field sizes vary.
Yep.
Is the sky the limit on how much ground this thing can cover, or is there a maximum amount of range it has?
So this unit is, we have one unit today. We want to revisit every plant every 7 to 10 days. It moves at 1 mile an hour. It's got a 40-foot boom on the front of it. You can do some geometry, do the math. Assuming a 10-hour workday, it comes out just shy of 50 acres per day. So if we think about wanting to re-see every plant every 7 to 10 days to understand the weeds that we did spray, if they're dying or not dying, that tells us that this machine can fit on a 350 to 500 acre field. So that's the right size. We've ran them on smaller fields for sure, because again, we've done a lot of studies and testing and proving that the things work. But as we continue to check the boxes and the machine earns its stripes, we're putting it on larger sizes fields, and as we continue to evolve the platform, we'll have more confidence. And the machine has shown that it's able to work on those size fields very well thus far.
And obviously with the cameras on there, it's probably gathering enough data too to share with the farmer that maybe it's seeing another problem, or it's at least sending back data that indicates something else may be going on that you need to address later on.
Yeah, the sheer amount of data that these units are able to collect and harvest while in fields is absolutely incredible. If we think about like kind of uncorking this, think about the real sky in the pie type of future. These units will be able to harvest more data than any institution has ever been able to put researchers in fields and to gather. We can then take these mass amounts of data and throw AI at it, throw algorithms at it, and we might discover new interesting things that are taking place in fields that we've never been able to observe because we just didn't have the ability to watch and monitor every plant in real production environments.
Could you maybe give us an example of someone? Obviously, we know spraying is its first job, but what other kind of data is it pulling from the field when it rolls along?
Well, I think about, today there's a lot of companies out there that put in insect traps into fields. There's a lot of companies that go out and sample soil. And those are all extremely interesting things. And what if those types of technologies could not only be adopted to this, but if we could overlay our observations into those types of data as well? These large data sets, as we are able to collect more information, we may see things such as water hemp always starts on the west side of the field, not the east side of the field. I mean, some of these things may or may not already be understood, but if we could put robots and cover 80% of a county, we may learn things about that county that's unique due to underlying water tables underneath the ground that we're not even necessarily truly aware of. because we'll see things happen over a course of time that we just never watched with that granular level of insight before.
All right, and finally to wrap up today, obviously you said you want to see a bigger presence here in Iowa and see more of those units in the fields. Where do our Iowa farmers go to learn more and maybe having that conversation about if this is the right product for them?
Yep, Solinftec.com. It's kind of a mouthful, SOLINFTEC.com. Get online there. There's a contact form. You can reach out to us. We'd love to have a conversation if this is a piece of technology that makes sense for farmer fields in Iowa.
All right, well, thanks so much for the information. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.